Hey, my name is Matt Storr and I repair saxophones for a living, and we are overhauling a saxophone together. This is part 4, and what I hope to accomplish in this video is just to wipe these rods down and set them aside, and then get this stuck roller off one way or another. So if you haven't watched the introduction, you should. But basically, long and short of it is, I am recording an entire saxophone overhaul in real time. And I don't know if the way I do things is the best way or even the right way, but hopefully this information getting out there helps more than it hurts. So anyhow, what I'm doing right now is just taking some naphtha and wiping down the rods that came off the instrument. Now this is not enough to actually fully clean these, but getting it like where it's not actively greasy means I can put them all in a bag together and not just like end up with a really dirty, gross bag. So I typically do this before that's interesting. I see a little like flecks of metal in there. One of these was really stuck, and that's probably little bits of key and bits of rod on there. So it's going to be interesting to see if these rods, once cleaned up, how many of them we might need to replace. This was the one that was stuck the worst, and I'm not certain that there's a good rod under there, but there might be. It's somewhat surprising how clean these rods can get when they start off pretty rough. But yeah, so just wiping these down. Using gloves is a good idea with naphtha. It's not super good for you. It's not like crazy poisonous or anything, but long-term exposure is not a great thing. So I typically make sure that my shop is pretty well ventilated when I do this. One thing that I notice makes a big difference also is taking my trash out after a bunch of naphtha has been used, and therefore I've got like naphtha soaked paper towels or pipe cleaners or Q-tips laying around. And you'll notice these are still really dark. So I'm getting off like the wet grease with this, but these are not actually anywhere close to clean yet. A lot of that grease has kind of turned to like a sort of varnish-like substance that is stuck to the rods. And although we've wiped this down, if we were to put this back into the instrument with new oil, some of this black stuff would start to break down into that oil and turn that oil into an abrasive. And then you'd end up with pieces of your saxophone coming off, which is not good. So that's just step one. Basically enables me to put these rods away. And someone asked me why I don't use a rod block. And what that is like a block of wood or acrylic or something like that that has holes in it, and you stick the rods in and they're labeled, and it helps you keep things straight. I do that for pivot screws because they all look alike to me, and but they are somewhat different. But I've found that these screws typically really only go back one way, and since we are doing key fitting on this horn as well, if there are two rods that are almost exactly the same and I put them back in the wrong spot, since we're doing key fitting, it's not really going to be very noticeable. But having a rod block is probably a good idea in general, especially if you're starting out. Just help keep things organized. And make sure you don't put stuff back in the wrong spot. So we've got this roller here. The first thing I want to do is look at the old rollers. They're the ones that came out. And I'm going to clean one of them and see if I can sort of learn anything about this material. I'm unfamiliar with it. Is this plastic? Is it acrylic? Is it celluloid? I don't know how much I'll be able to tell, but it seems like it would be a good idea to try before I start doing the work of getting it unstuck. And hopefully we will get it unstuck versus end up with a broken roller. I think I'll probably be able to make something pretty close if I have to, but sort of got like a little bit of a marbled effect to it. Don't know. It feels pretty tough. It doesn't feel like quite like old con rollers. A lot of times feel like they're just about to bust, but this feels fairly strong. I'm curious about how it's going to hold up to heat. So this is really stuck. If I try to move it, I'm actually going to take my gloves off so I can get more purchase with my fingers. I really can't move that roller at all, and the rod itself, although fairly clean looking on the end here. Now you got to be careful when you're doing this. If you slip, you'll stab yourself pretty hard, but just a thing you got to deal with. When I'm twisting that, I don't even feel the roller moving at all. And it doesn't look like there's like any room here or here. Looks like it's pretty closely fit. Let's see if my slightly larger screwdriver will fit. Nope. Let's see. I have some other screwdrivers. Let's see if I've got one that's any closer of a fit. I don't think I do, but I don't know. I've just got a feeling I'm about to break a screwdriver. So we've put a bunch of penetrating oil on here. I'm going to do a little more. And I'm going to hold the screwdriver in here. And I'm going to strike it lightly with a hammer. This is just like kind of like some vibration. I'm not doing it too hard. I'm not trying to like damage the slot or anything like that. Just like see if a little bit of vibration shakes anything loose. It doesn't seem like it. And again, I'm twisting back and forth. I'm getting oil on my hands. I'm twisting it back and forth rather than just pushing it in one direction, because, you know, any movement, any sort of like cracking of that frozen nature of the rod and roller is going to be really helpful. And twisting back and forth, I think, is easier than just one way. And sometimes it'll actually crack going tighter. So it seems like it's beneficial to me to do it that way. Let's try again. Nothing. All right. Well, let's see here. I think what I'm going to try next is a little bit of heat. So I'm just going to take, let's see here. Keep a close eye on that roller, see if it starts to deform or anything like that. If that end starts to like go up. So like con rollers. Okay, I feel a good bit of warmth. Con rollers will actually like completely melt. They're made of celluloid of some kind. Try a little more heat. What I'm trying to do is get that rod warm. And if this roller is made of anything that softens with heat, maybe it'll help it let go. Boy, oh boy, nothing yet, huh? I can feel warmth through the roller, but it's not like melting, so that's a good sign. Gosh, my hands are so greasy now. Let's see if we can move it yet. Nope. We'll see how long this takes. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be super edifying to see me just like work on this for a half hour, but that might be what I end up doing. least it doesn't seem like this particular rod material catches fire or anything. I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of steam or smoke coming from the penetrating oil evaporating. I can definitely smell it. Nothing. Oh shit. Yeah, broke my screwdriver. Well, we'll see if that'll even come out. Where's my pin vise? There it is. Okay. Let's see, is that still narrow enough to use? Almost. All right, let's go and trim the edge of this broken screwdriver, see if we can use what's left. Doesn't look like it goes in very well. It's a little too fat. All right, we're going to set that aside and trim it again if I need to. And we'll see how we do on this screwdriver. All right, so I'm going to take a quick break and set up my soldering iron where I can put the tip right on here and impart a lot of heat directly into that rod and see if that makes a difference. All right, while I'm waiting for the soldering iron to heat up, just going to do this a couple more times. See what we got. One thing that seems pretty fortunate is that the roller doesn't really seem to be too affected by the heat. It's not like curling as far as I can tell, so I can really put a lot of heat in here, I think. We might get lucky with getting it unstuck because we're allowed to use so much heat and the roller's not melting. Although I think there's a pretty good chance, honestly, that we're just going to lose the roller here. And I'll have to make another one. Oh, look at that. Got movement for the first time. All right. That's surprising. So that's as far as I can go. From there to there. But that's way more than before. So the rod seems to be unstuck from the key. Still fairly well stuck to the roller. Now there's a chance, as we unscrew this, assuming I get it to start unscrewing, it's going to be pulling this way. It'll be pushing against here with the threads, pulling this way. There's a chance either for the threads to strip out, which would suck, or for the roller to burst or crack, which would also suck. So since heat seems to be working really well, I think I am going to apply a lot of heat and see if we can get this roller to melt a little bit around that rod, just enough for it to come out. We might get lucky here, I don't know. The cost of one screwdriver. Luckily, the screwdrivers I use are from J.L. Smith, and they have a lifetime warranty. I actually saw like a bubble of juice come out the bottom there. That's new, so let's give it another try. Still not coming. I feel like it is going a little farther than before. Maybe just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. All right, I'm gonna take a little break, clean off my hands. I'm feeling pretty slippery. All right, so I've spared you like maybe 10 more minutes of struggling that didn't really get anywhere. Sort of at a loss here. It's unusual that it's stuck so hard, but that it's not getting damaged by my attempts, like the roller's not getting damaged by my attempts to get it out, but I'm worried about applying so much pressure that these threads strip out. That would be a huge bummer. We've got a decent bit of movement, right? You can see it goes from there to just a little bit past there, but basically all that is you know, the gap here as this screws in and out. Oops. My phone keeps like turning notifications back on. So I mean, I feel like we're kind of on the edge of destroying this roller in order to get the rod out clean so that we don't actually harm the key itself. But it also seems to be like immune to heat damage. So maybe the best thing to do would be to just apply a ton of heat to this rod, way more than I would normally consider, because what's the downside, right? That the rod or that the roller gets destroyed? We're considering that anyways. And by the way, I mean, I told you that this series might be really boring, right? Like, this is part of the job. And, you know, trying to save one original roller for like an hour is something that happens in vintage saxophone repair. And it can be, you know, frustrating. And you just never know where it's going to go. The outcome is not assured with this kind of stuff. So it's moving a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll try like a bunch of heat. And if that doesn't work, maybe just set it aside and leave it until basically can't leave it any longer while it's soaking and penetrating oil, and try one more time. So let's go ahead and put a little bit more oil on here. And, oops, where'd I put it? Where are my paper towels? Okay, sorry about that. I'm trying to turn it off when I like look around for stuff to keep the head movement at a minimum. But yeah, let's just go ahead and put a ton of heat into this thing and see what happens. And hopefully not destroy another screwdriver. Kind of worried about that because this is the only other small blade I've got. I would have to wait until I got a replacement from J.L. Smith or purchase something else in the meantime. So I'm trying to direct this flame where it's like, you know, the hottest part is right on the rod there. It's bouncing off the end of the key, so it's not harming the roller. And hopefully you've got a pretty good view of that. And we can keep an eye on the end of the roller there. I can feel where my thumb is getting hot. So there's a lot of heat like going into this. It'd be nice if I could see like some bubbling coming out the side as that penetrating oil heats up and vaporizes. Then we would know that the rod is really hot. But this is longer than I would normally keep it on. Keep the heat on a rod that has a roller on it. But whatever these things are made of seem pretty resilient. It'd be a real shame if we had to lose the roller, because this horn's like all original, right? Did see a little bit of bubbling there. Luckily this horn's not lacquer, right? This much heat for this long on that little end of the key there would definitely impart enough heat to burn lacquer. So I guess we're getting lucky in this situation here. We've got more chances to save this roller than usual, but it also means we're spending a lot of time on it. Alright, I'm seeing some bubbling. So that rod is really hot now. Alright, let's see what we can do. It's amazing that it won't move. It's starting to dish out the screw, I think. And I just broke my screwdriver. Well, that's pretty much that, I think. Will it fit? Still fits. Oh, dang. Well, perhaps we will leave this and come back to it. Oh, look, there's the tip of my screwdriver. Barely knew ye. Can't stop, though. I can't just, like, leave it alone. But I probably should. Man. All right, so our options here seem to be, because I mean, if we were to try and cut, like there's no saw that thin, right? And then we'd be like bending out, probably going to break the roller. Could try heat again, do more and more and more of that, just like keep repeating that. Why don't I try like once or twice more off camera so you don't have to keep watching this. But that procedure we just did, I'm going to do it again, maybe twice more, as long as I've got a screwdriver tip that fits. And I guess get on the horn to JL Smith about replacing a couple screwdrivers that I just broke. And if they wonder how I did it, I can point them to this video. So anyhow, I'm going to try that again. Not going to make you watch the whole thing. I said I'd do it in real time, but this is really repetitive. So just if you want to, you can watch what we just did over again twice and get the full experience. Okay, so we reached the I'm not asking anymore phase. I'm going to apply a little more juice. To that rod. See what happens. I think I see the end of the roller starting to like burn a little bit. So this is probably one of our last gambits. Alright, let's see what this does, if anything. Oh, come on. How? Yeah, dude. That is one stuck roller. Goodness gracious. That's so hot. I can't believe that it's putting up with it. Let's see, where's my water? Like, really? Really, though? Now it's just like totally frozen. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it. Let's see, at least I've got another one that I can duplicate it from to make it exactly the same, hopefully. And can probably make something that looks pretty similar, although I think this might have darkened a bit from everything we did. Oh no, that's this one. I don't want to break it, but all right. All right, I'm gonna go off camera and try that like 1 or 2 more times, and then I think we're just gonna break this roller. We got it! No, I'm just kidding. That's the C. Ah, man. Like completely defeated by this roller. That's frustrating. I mean, I tried like so much heat, and I just don't really think there's much else to do to this one, so. God, this sucks. It's my dog. I'll do it. God, how was that so stuck? It didn't even look that bad. I don't know what this stuff is made of, but there we go. Always a disappointment when that happens. Especially on a horn like this where it's got like a unique roller. Oh man, and I froze the rod into the key with the heat. That is one ugly looking rod. So, sometimes it happens. It's always frustrating, especially like, you know, I mean, I don't know, I probably spent over an hour on this easily, you know? And like, does that count as billable time? Like if you fail at doing what you meant to do? And now I've got to make a roller later. Man, look at that. Which is extra time as well. So, well, now the horn is completely disassembled, so at least we got that going for us. But that one roller cost us it's probably going to be 2 hours by the end of it, and 2 screwdrivers. So that was a costly roller there, but that happens. All right, well, my name is Matt Storr. I destroy rollers for a living. Thanks for watching. Oh, hopefully you found this helpful, useful, and informative. I know this one was probably more boring than most, but you know, this is what happens when you're doing this job. Like, this is just a part of it, and you don't always win. You try and go along, you try and like, you know, kind of get into the slipstream and go along with the horn and go along with everything that's going on. But you know, sometimes you just gotta bust a roller to keep moving forward. And unfortunately, that was one of these times. So, thanks for watching. You know, I should also say that it is pretty uncommon for me to break a screwdriver these days. I've been using the J.L. Smith stuff for a while. Used to be a place called Kraus, made screwdrivers that were really amazing, and then they stopped making tools. And J.L. Smith, in my mind, is probably the next best thing. And with their free replacements, they actually, you know, they take back the old ones and they test and they make it better over time. I haven't broken a screwdriver in probably a year, and today I broke 2. So that's fairly uncommon. I still think these are really good tools, and I'm looking forward to replacing these with more J.L. Smith drivers. Yeah, today was just an unfortunate day, and that roller was really stuck, and the fact that we broke 2 screwdrivers on it, you know, speaks to that. We didn't give up easy, but yep, that happened.